Well, hi, welcome back to the Spirit of Watercolor, and I'm refreshed after vacationing for a week in Grayling, Michigan by the Au Sable River, and you'll see in this video forthcoming that I've done some sketching there, and you'll see where I was, how beautiful it was by the river behind our cottage, and I've done some small sketches that are, you know, just quick roughs out there. We weren't gone very long, so I didn't have a lot of time to sit down with the paints, but it was just, you know, the changing season into spring into, well, we're well into spring now. I don't think it'll be summer for another 3 weeks, but, you know, the flowers are blooming, and, you know, they had the pots of flowers out there, and the river was just rolling along in its glory, you know, and the birds were singing, and we had wild turkeys visiting, and it was really nice. And so we're going to take these small sketches now, and we're going to go to the table, and with photographs that I also took, which are of this, and we'll do a larger piece about, I want to say maybe 16 by 20, you know, a medium-sized painting. And we'll, you know, sketching, like I mentioned before, helps me to get my head around what it is I want to do and what I don't. And that's what sketching always does. So I started off, I was pretty tight, you know, and I was maybe a little, I don't know, I didn't have a really nice composition yet, and I was a little tight with my brushes. And then you start to warm up, you start to loosen up, even on a small sketch pad. So here I realized when I started to get some real wet marks down at the bottom that I was starting to loosen up, and I had a better compositional design where, you know, the trees are more interesting in the foreground and background, just where they're, you know, where they're located. They're not just symmetrical, and I would have one big tree in the front, you know, and things like that, you know. So thinking it through, and now we're going to take these, and I like things about the first one too, but, you know, it's just kind of the combination of these sketches to kind of figure out what it is I want to say in my painting, what I mostly enjoyed about being there. I also realized the river wasn't just blue, you know, you're like, blue river, and then I'm like, wait, I'm looking at it, and it's like, it's not just blue. There was a lot of like this rusty brown color in there, coming from maybe the earth underneath. I wasn't sure, but you'll see that, and in the next part of the video. So stay tuned, and let's go to the table and get our painting on the board, and off we go. Glad you're here. Please like and subscribe. So my husband and I are here in Grayling, Michigan, and our place is beautiful. Little cottage here, right? With a stone walkway and the river behind us, the Au Sable River. Au Sable? In Grayling, Michigan. And so, of course, I've brought my, there we go, my little sketchbook, my Sennelier watercolor paints, which I showed you when I was in Sutton's Bay, my little water tub, which might be too small, glasses, 2 brushes, a flat and a round, oops, pointed round. So I'm just going to sit here and do a little bit of what I call watercolor sketching and enjoy the beautiful vacation and get some inspiration, and then take it back home like we did before. Isn't this wonderful? The birds think so, and the squirrels. We've got over there, we've had some turkeys. The sun is so bright it might be hard to see, but my paints are here, my Sennelier watercolors, and the little palette that's just on it, which I like to show you because this is all I take with me anymore. I used to pack all this stuff, and you just need enough to get the information on your paint paper, do a small sketch or two, and then take those home and work on them into larger pieces, right? So you'd think I'd learn, right? But I forgot to bring a tripod for my camera again, but I'll learn that eventually. And so, you know, I'm sketching. I don't know if this is going to show up here. I'll try it again inside, take a picture, but I've started to just kind of do my little river here and some trees larger in the foreground, smaller in the background. I'm going to do some of the trees back in the back as well. I might do something in a more vertical to get the trees in the sky later. This is a really small pad, but this is kind of, I wanted to pack light for this trip. We're only gone a few days, so. And so, if you look up there, I just was enjoying yesterday that birch tree, and so I was sketching down here, and yeah, kind of looking at it and laying out my composition. And I'll just put a little more in here, enough to lay out our background a little of the trees back there. Just enough information to work from with my photos and videos when I get home. Okay, so we're back in our studio. I've got my tablet with my photographs, and I have my sketches here that I did on vacation. And there's two of them, if you recall. And so I've taped down, I wet last night and I taped down, actually I'm reusing, it's always good paper, because I did a sketch on the back of this that I didn't use, and so this is the other side, re-wet. There is a little bit of a mark on it, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Not sure what that is, but anyway, it'll be in the grass and the grounds. So, and I of course sprayed it and wiped it down, you know, with the cloth, and then taped it. I actually reused some tape. So we're back in our studio, and we're going to begin a painting. We're going to look at these photos and find one that really you know, is similar to my sketches. So this is probably the closest one I have to my sketches. I wasn't real conscious there of getting the photo of what I was looking at, but you know, I can zoom in on, you know, the river here, and you know, that's the nice thing about tablets. And you know, come in with that birch tree that's at that angle, which was kind of interesting, and some of these other trees. There's another birch over there. So you know, we can again, this was just to help me loosen up and get the feel of the painting I want to do. And like I said, it helped me loosen up. So we're gonna, you know, and the color choices and all those things. So now we're going, and I'm feeling like I was pretty close on the color choices there. I didn't finish these sketches. I felt like I had enough to go with to get the feel. It's just that familiar feeling you get. So when you're painting and when you're drawing, it's not like you don't know where it's going. I know where it's going, and I usually finish without needing more reference on my sketches. So, and if you need more, put more on your sketches first. Okay, let's do it. Since I'm using Sennelier paints, I'm on my second palette where I have them. My other one's the Daniel Smith paints. And I'm just putting some of the colors on here, the forest green and the what's it called? Green light, something. Oh, Pthaelo green light. Ah, it's very pretty. And then I used this beautiful blue here, and maybe a cobalt. I have to check. Let's see. Yes, blue. Oh, sorry. This is the Sennelier Pthaelo. It looks different than in Daniel Smith, and since I'm not sure, I think that's the same, but we're going to put it on the palette because I'm not sure. I have other paints on here as well, some unusual paints on palette number 2. And then of course we used the lemon yellow. I can get a little more of that. I used quite a lot of that. They have 2 yellows here. This is the lemon, and then the other one is Sennelier Yellow Light, but it's warmer. It's a warmer tone. I might add some of that in because some of these I didn't use on the trip. I just kind of was sketching, but I think it would be lovely to see oops, how they look. I'm trying to do this right over here maybe. It may be blending with something else in there, but not enough to be a big deal to me. I might warm it up a little. There's a little bit of orange in the bottom. And yeah, my goal is to get more Sennelier on this, and then, you know, use this palette more. The paints are beautiful. They have a honey base. So if you haven't tried them, this is the artist grade. You can also buy a student grade of these in the palette. Okay, so if I need more, I'll bring them out, but I can just pull them off of the metal case there too if I need to. So yes, we're getting ready to sketch now, so we'll get our pencils out. I've been really enjoying, but I don't think I'm going to right now, but I've been really enjoying watercolor. Well, watercolor pencils might actually still be my favorite way of drawing lately. I also draw with those Aquarelle pencils by DerWent. They're just regular pencils, but they're Aquarelle. So, but the nice thing is sketching from these watercolor pencils is you don't see them so much, you know, as you paint, the pencil lines won't be there. And I've been enjoying that, so maybe you will try that as well. Maybe we'll go with a nice yellow-green to draw in some of this. And let's see, will they roll away? Too light to draw with, I've tried that. The water has these lovely blues and some interesting rusty browns in it as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't usually use that many pencils to draw. I may bring in details later with more pencils, but usually oh, and the birch tree's white, but we have some black on there, so we might need a bit of a dark color like that. Might be a black or a blue black or something deep. I don't like to use black that much. So this is kind of to help you to get some courage to go out and sketch and then go in and, you know, paint. That's what I'm hoping, is that we'll do this together and enjoy motivating each other to create. Sometimes just getting things started can be a real struggle. So I'm hoping that this is kind of encouraging, because, you know, you can see that I'm not a perfectionist, but I still get things done and get pretty satisfied with paintings after a little bit. So I'm going to start to draw momentarily. Let's first decide where we want our river on our painting. Here it's not halfway, it's maybe a little more than halfway, in between halfway and 2/3, I think. Well, not really, and it's kind of bowing, the river was. So we'll get our photograph up too again. And, there it is. And kind of get the table out of it, if I can. Like that. And you've got your river over there. Oh, we actually had to put a tarp up. There was a frost, so I'll keep that out of there. But kind of have the basics of my painting. This was a little different position here, but it's enough for me. I mean, because the tree, it's not quite where I was. I'm at a little different angle facing it when in my sketch. So we'll go back and forth between the two, the drawing and the photograph. And then I'm going to start to put in some of the, I have a purple I didn't need. I don't want purple. I want to start drawing with the greens and what's in the, you know, around the trees in the background and so on. And kind of come up behind. There'll be a lot of color behind there, so it should blend in. I also have another green here somewhere. You can sketch with your brush too. It's just, for me, it's a little more exacting. I like drawing, but with watercolor pencil, we're drawing. Here's a really nice rusty sort of color, coppery color too. We could use that also. There's actually a tree over here too. Yeah. So let's put this somewhere where you might see that, and then I can see it, and we can draw. And this one, I like the texture of the grasses, and I have a little more information in the background here than I do in the other one, and some of the tree colors and so forth in the foreground above the river. So, and the river was this rusty color, so that's why I'm kind of drawn to that. And of course there's blue shimmering in the river as well. Okay, so let's begin on our sheet of paper here. It's not taped as perfectly straight as I'd like it to be on the board, but
as you may see here, I don't put a lot of information down, just kind of place where everything is, and do more painting than I do actual drawing on a watercolor layout. Then I use the sketch for more information of how I want to put down, you know, the paint and how I want to do it. And it gives me freedom to not be restricted to what I see on the sketch, a little more creative freedom. If you want to put more information down on your drawing, that is totally okay. I just do this my way, and I hope that I don't say that it's a right or wrong way, but it's just, you know, you learn as you do things over the years what works for you and what doesn't.
okay, so we are going to take our palette here, and I'm going to take the blue up there and the brown over here. There she is. And there's some browns left from a previous painting. And if I mix them, I will create some black, because I'm going to come in and do some of the darks of the trees, a little more information in the trees, make them look rounder and so on. But I like to not use the actual black all the time. Many artists do this. We take our blue and we mix into the brown and make a nice black. Is that in the picture? Oh, you know what? We need to bring it smaller. Okay. And yeah, that's one good way of using up my brown there. And creating some darks. It's taking a lot to mix that up. Into the dark I want. Somehow it almost looks like there's a green in it, but that's okay. Let's see what we've got. Probably because there's some other colors in that brown, yellow, and I think that will be a more interesting dark. More earthy dark. And some of the trees in the background I don't even need. I have some lines, that's enough information for those over there. And then here, getting closer, we'll have more detail. I kind of like how these came out so dark. I think that must be what I saw. But you know, we can create a little variation in the darks, right? So that they're, you know, sometimes a little more blue. You see a little dry brush in there. It creates a little bit more texture and information to the tree as well, right? And I have to take my bracelet back off. I was out having dinner and gardening and a little bit more, because I like to get my garden all back up now that we've been back home. And so we'll start to, I work around, as you know. I don't just, you know, do one tree at a time. I may sometimes, but oftentimes it's just as gratifying and helpful to, you know, do more than one tree here.
Here you'll see that I'm putting in like half of the trees and just figuring out where things are going to be, and just kind of deciding where things are going to be, placement, and then I will finish them up later. Also, I am now putting in some of the ground underneath of the river, and just kind of thinking that through. I often do that. I think while I'm painting and deciding, just because the sketch is minimal, and then, kind of figuring out, the colors and the texture. And that gives me a more freedom to be more creative and also to be more alert and aware as the paints are getting onto the painting, letting them do a lot of the work for me, right? Instead of, laboring over every little brush stroke and mark, letting the paints flow and see what the beauty of watercolor really is. Now I'm putting in there was like a shadow or a deep color underneath above the river where the trees are, and I'm just outlining that, kind of defining where the river is. As you will see if you look here, the water is rusty, and so I'm letting that paint flow down with a wet brush and just making it not be just like a hard line there, but I want it to kind of graduated wash. Look that up in prior videos and you'll see how if you take a clear brush and you come across your brush stroke, it'll just flow down and become sort of the rust of the water there. That's what I was trying to achieve. And I liked that, so I went back to the foreground and I made sure that was flowing too, because I had started that. And also, those decisions that you make as you paint, I like it here. I'm going to do a little more of that up in the foreground as well, with the nice warm and beautiful phthalo green there, and green light, and the other, I think it was forest green. So then I went on to look at my photos again, and the colors were pretty close, and then I was looking at the water, and I take a clear brush and wet where it's now dry, where the top of the line defining the river, and I wet with clear water under that, and then I begin to put in this beautiful blue. And I believe that was the Pthaelo blue in Sennelier watercolor, and it's more aqua blue and very beautiful than my Pthaelo blue, which may be somewhat aqua, but not that much in the Daniel Smith color. So the paint colors do vary, but each one has its own incredible beauty, and I choose, what works with, the, colors that I'm trying to achieve. I hope you like this, and now let's move on to part 2, as these videos get very long and it's quite a bit, so I don't want to shorten up the demos, and so we'll see you on part 2.